Hello, this is Miss Jackson. I'm going to make a video covering the assignment for relating multiplication to division, day 3. Problem 1 says, write a division equation that matches the models. And so here's the model that we're looking at. When we are writing a division sentence, the first number is always going to be the total number of objects that are being divided out. So in this case, we could count all of these dots and we would find that there are 20 dots. So that's going to be the first number. That's also known as the dividend. The second number is going to be the number of groups that we have. The mathematical term for the second number is the divisor, the number that's being divided into the total number of objects. In this case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. So far, our division sentence is 20 divided by 4 equals some number. Well, the number that it equals, the mathematical term for it, is the quotient. That's probably the most important term for the kids to know out of these three terms, dividend, divisor, and quotient, because I have seen quotient on assignments and on tests in the past. So if I'm going to focus on really memorizing any of these terms, it's probably going to be quotient first and foremost. The quotient is going to be how many objects are in each group. So we can go through and count, and I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dots in each group. So our division sentence is 20 divided by 4 equals 5. I'm going to skip down to 3. It says draw a strip diagram and solve for the word problems. Peter rode his bike 8 miles each day for 5 days. How many miles did Peter ride his bike total? To turn this little rectangle into a strip diagram, step 1 is to divide it in half horizontally. The top of a strip diagram, whether it's an addition, subtraction, division, or multiplication strip diagram, the top is always going to be your total. In this case, we don't know the total yet because we're looking for it. It says, how many miles did he ride his bike total? So I'm going to represent that value with an X. The bottom is going to be the parts that make up the word problem, that represent the word problem, that eventually get combined to form that total. In this case, it says he rode his bike 8 miles every day for 5 days. So I'm going to divide this bottom section into 5 sections, one for each day. To get 5 sections, you need to do 4 vertical lines. It's always the number of sections that you need minus 1 will give you the right number of groups. So in this case, I have 5 groups, 1 for each day. And to finish my model, I need to fill in how far he went each day. Well, it says he went 8 miles each day. To find the total number of miles that he went, I would need to combine all of these 8s. The multiplication sentence that I would use would be 8 times 5 equals something. Well, 8 times 5, if we add that all together, is going to equal 40. I like to tell the kids that if you have a 5 as a factor, that is great and wonderful, because all you have to do is skip count by 5, however many times the other factor tells you. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. 5 8 times is 40. The division sentence that we would write for this would be 40 divided by 5 equals 8. And I like to try to write the division and multiplication sentences as much as I can so that kids can start to see that relationship between division and multiplication, because that's just kind of a struggle in 3rd grade. So we do it as much as we possibly can, and just try to push them to write it as often as possible. Okay, to answer the question though, right here, it says how many miles did he ride? The answer would be 40. Question 4 says Olivia worked on her report a total of 50 minutes. She worked the same number of minutes each day for 5 days. How many minutes did she work each day? So step 1, divide our strip diagram in half horizontally. The top is the total. Do I know a total number of minutes that she worked? Yes, I do. It tells me she worked a total of 50 minutes. That's going up top. It says she worked the same number of minutes each day. We don't know how many minutes that was. for 5 days. Well, I know that I need to divide the bottom into 5 sections, one for each day. And then I would need to divide these 50 minutes out into the 5 sections evenly. I'm going to start by writing a division sentence for this, which would be 50 divided by 5 equals something. And if you flip that into multiplication, and you pretty much just flip it backwards and change the sign, you would have something times 5 equals 50. 5 is a factor that is great and wonderful, like we just talked about. So I'm going to count by 5 and see how many times it takes me to get to 50. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. It took me 10 times of counting by 5 to get to 50. So the answer here is going to be 10 times 5 equals 50. 50 divided by 5 equals 10. What happens if we have a number that's not quite as happy and friendly as a 5 to work with, or a 10? You can go to the old tried and true dot method. You can go through and put one dot in each box very carefully and in a very clear and organized way until you get to 50 total dots. After that, you would count and see how many dots are in a section, and that would be your answer. Not going to take all that time right now. We've practiced this a lot in class 2. And you'll probably want to do that method on question 5, because that's not a math fact that's one that we know yet. We haven't learned all the math facts. We've learned very few of our math facts. That's okay. By the end of the year, we will have learned all sorts of great math facts. Anywho, the answer here, how many minutes that you work each day, would be 10. And just keep going with those dots so you get to 50. Count your dots up. This is one problem I've noticed with the dot method, though. Let me draw it on problem 5. If you're one of my sweet 3rd grade friends and you are watching this and you do this, please stop doing this. Some of my friends will go through and do this. Do, do, do. And then they'll start working backwards. And then they go this way, because I think they think it's just more fun. And I get it. The problem is, at this point, my dots aren't spread out evenly. I have 4 here, 6 there, 3 there. In division, everything has to be even. So I always encourage the kids to go in a very systematic, orderly manner. Start in the first box, go to the second, the third, so on and so forth. And once you reach the end, go back to box 1. Don't try to go forward and backward. Good things will not happen. The last 3 problems are comparison problems. Our kids are pretty good at that. They'll be able to figure this out. They need to look at these 3 numbers, figure out which one fits in which box to make each of these things true. They might have to kind of play with moving the numbers around a bit here and there to make that happen. Okay, that is all I have for today. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know.